We may be asked to write the equation of a line given a slope and a point, or 2 points. So in number 1, write the equation of a line with a slope of m equals 3 and passing through the point 4, 7. So remember that we have our slope-intercept equation of a line, which is y equals mx plus b. Here we know that m is 3, x is 4, and y is 7. So 7 equals 3 times 4 plus b. So do the arithmetic. Subtract 12 from each side, and you end up with -5 equals b. So the equation of our line, given this slope of 3 passing through the point 4, 7, is y equals 3x minus 5. Now suppose, in number 2, we're given 2 points. So graph the line through the points 0, -5, and 4, 1, and write the equation of the line. So we'll plot the points in a minute, and then we'll just make sure the line matches up with the points. So let's just look at writing the equation first. Well, remember, we need y equals mx plus b. We're not given what the slope is. So what we can do is use the slope formula, which was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So 1 subtract -5 divided by 4 minus 0. And that'll give us 6 over 4, which reduces to 3/2. Okay, you can always reduce slope. I would suggest keeping it a fraction when you have these generic y equals mx plus b equations. If you have a word problem, which we'll get to later on in the course, then you might want to use decimals, because explaining them might make more sense in the context of a word problem. But right now, we're just going to keep them as fractions. Okay, so what we have is a slope of 3/2 and passing through these 2 points. Well, in the first one, we had a slope of 3 passing through the point 4, 7. So now we could look at this question as graph a line with the slope of 3/2 passing through the point 0, -5. Now you could also use through the point 4, 1. You would get the same answer. But just for the sake of making it easier, I'm going to use 0, -5. And you'll see how that makes it easier here when we plug it in. So if we plug in that x value equals 0 and y is -5, -5 equals 3/2 times 0 plus b. 3/2 times 0 gives us 0. So -5 equals b. That was the advantage of using the point 0, -5, because 0 times anything is 0. That'll simplify the right-hand side of the equation. So the equation of our line is y equals 3/2 x minus 5. And if we were to plot the point 0, -5, and 4, 1, draw a line through it, we can see if we start at the b value, 0, -5, that's right here. And the slope of 3/2 means we go up 3 to the right 2. That's the rise over run. So up 3 to the right 2. Notice we're still on the line, but we need to go up 3 to the right 2 again to get to the point. That's because we reduced the slope from 6 over 4 to 3 over 2. Okay, so if we just connect those, there's our line. Okay, next one, write the equation of line through 0, 5 and -3, -4. Notice how the steps will be similar to this one up here. So what you can do is pause the video and try it, or you can just work along with me. I'm going to start it up. So if we start with finding the slope, 4 minus 5, so that's y2 minus y1. divided by negative 3 minus 0. And what helps some people when they find slope is to actually put the points kind of above each other like this. And then they can see like the y's, what you subtract, and the x's. So when you simplify that, you get negative 1 divided by negative 3, which reduces to 1/3. And make sure you keep that a fraction. You don't want to round it to 0.3 or 0.33 because 1/3 is the exact value. So now again, if we use 0,5, that's going to be convenient because the x value is 0. So we know that if we use y equals mx plus b, we're going to have 5 equals 1/3 times 0 plus b. So 5 equals b. So the equation of our line is y equals 1/3 x plus 5. Okay, moving on to the last couple. Again, they're all the same type of question. Now we're given 2 points, and we want to write the equation through the 2 points. So if you look at number 4, you can think about y equals mx plus b, our slope-intercept form. We have to find the b value, so you have to find the slope between the points. And then once you find the slope, substitute one of the points in to find the b value. So you can pause the video and try that, and I'll put the answer up. Okay, so there's the answer for that one. Okay, negative 4 divided by 2, which reduces to negative 2 for the slope. And then when you substitute in, I use the 0.14. I'm sorry, 4, 1. 1 is y, 4 is x. You could have also used 2, 5. And if you want to do that off to the side, just to see, you should get positive 9 for your b value no matter what. So y equals negative 2x plus 9. Okay, and then the last two, if you want to try those, what I'll warn you of is just be careful of the signs when you find the slope. You have to make sure that you take the negatives into account. That's probably one of the most commonly missed things, is just the sign on the slope. So pause the video and try 5a and b, and I'll put the answers up. Okay, looking at part A first. The slope is 1/2, 4 divided by 8, which is 1/2. So the y value that I used was 4, and the x value 2. That's coming from this point here, 2, 4. And you end up with y equals 1/2 x plus 3. Part B is a little bit trickier because you don't end up with really nice numbers that you have to use in your formula. The slope ends up being negative 3/4. And this is what I was mentioning before, that you have to pay really close attention to the signs. We are doing y2 minus y1, which is negative 4, subtract negative 1. So that's minus negative 1. That'll turn to negative 4 plus 1. And then similar on the bottom, subtracting a negative 3 will turn into adding 3. And you could do all that in your calculator, but for some reason students just have a hard time getting that right. So make sure that you pay attention to the signs. So once you find that slope, substitute in for m, and then you have x is negative 3, y is negative 1. I just used the first point. And then go through the arithmetic. This is where it starts getting a little more difficult. You end up with fractions in your answers. So we have negative 3/4 times negative 3 is positive 9/4. Remember, you can treat that as negative 3 over 1, then you multiply straight across. 9 over 4. And then, to get 9/4 to the other side, you have to subtract it. So I subtracted 9/4 from negative 1. Remember that negative 1 is negative 4/4. So multiply the numerator and denominator by 4 to get a common denominator so you can subtract them. And you could do all this in your calculator also. And you end up with negative 13/4 for the b value. So the equation of your line is y equals negative 3/4 x minus 13/4.